Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up during inflation, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold!
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See detail.
How would you like a 15% discount to my daily email, the stack of stuff, the show notes, discounts to the conference, all of that? All you need to do is text the word show to 33777. You'll get the annual subscription with a 15% discount to my daily email. You'll get the stack of stuff, the links to the show notes, discounts to the conference, and so much more. All you have to do is text the word show, SHOW, to 33777. Text show to 33777.
Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show podcast, Hour 3.
Greetings, conversationalists. Welcome. It's Eric Erickson here across the nation. Delighted to be with you. Glad I'm back from vacation. Spend time with you guys. Now, the phone number, 877-973-7425. Yeah, it is the biggest story today. The eclipse, the solar eclipse is happening. And it is almost complete in Mazatlan, Mexico. And the skies have grown dark there. It's twilight. I want to, if you haven't been through a solar eclipse before, you're going to want to look up, obviously, and make sure you've got eclipse glasses when you do it. You're going to want to look up, but you should look down too. Because as the sun gets, and in fact, it'll work. So where I am, only get about 81 to 85% total darkness or total coverage. But it'll work where I am as well. Your shadows become, where the light comes through, become crests. It's a very, very interesting thing to observe. Your shadows, here it happened in Mexico now, waiting, it's getting completely dark there. Y'all, it is an impressive, wild thing when this happens. And the sun goes out completely. Yep, there it goes. And then suddenly you see the corona, which is not visible to the eye except in total eclipses. When you have a total eclipse, then you can see the corona shine through. It's just there it is. It's remarkable when this happens. It's a pretty thing to see, and then you can see the light come through the canyons on the moon. There it is. It's happening in Mexico right now, and it's just an incredible thing to see. I've got the TV on here live. It really, y'all, it's a phenomenal thing to witness. And you really should, when this happens, be sure to look down, not just up, and look at the shadows, because the shadows change. And as the light comes through, it's little crescents of light. It's not like what you would imagine. It's a wild thing. A lot of the country today, 99% of the American population will be able to see at least in part this eclipse. Only a portion will see the total eclipse, but it's still, even a partial eclipse, it is a phenomenal thing. I have a distinct memory when I was little. I can remember I was on my grandparents' front lawn, where my parents live in this house now, and there was a partial eclipse, and my grandmother was a nurse, and she had x-ray film. And we were able to watch through the x-ray film. Now, I saw a meme online, and I find this funny. Somebody was saying, how was it worded, that to see under the water and to have a better experience outdoors, you need polarized sunglasses. They start at $125. Here are your options. To look at the sun with your naked eye, here's a $3 pair of cardboard glasses off Amazon. That's pretty much the way it works. All right. Enough babbling about the eclipse, and I'm trying not to get worked up about the Masters and my love, even as not a sports guy watching it, but I may spend a moment there, but I don't want to start there. I want to start here. Pete Buttigieg, while I was on vacation last week, he went on Fox News and was talking about EVs. And I want to play you a little bit of this audio because there's a point that needs to be made here.
Well, let's be clear. Consumers have wanted and purchased more EVs every single year than the year before. And, Tesla is facing more competition as GM and Ford and Stellantis and other competitive players start to make sure they get a piece of the EV market. Let's be clear that the automotive sector is moving toward EVs, and we can't pretend otherwise. Sometimes when these debates happen, I feel like it's the early 2000s, and I'm talking to some people who think that we can just have landline phones forever.
All right, we can stop there. The smugness of people thinking we can just have landline phones forever. I realize Pete Buttigieg is the pretty face from the debate club who was actually the dumb kid who said all sorts of polysyllabic words, and so people thought he was smart. I also realize he is the diversity hire for the Department of Transportation. But you do understand, Secretary Buttigieg, that the government did not force people to move off landlines. People moved to cell phones because of their convenience. We were willing to give up the quality of the phone call, and until very recently, it is inarguable the quality of a phone call from a landline phone was better. In fact, I still have a landline phone at my home because I do a lot of radio interviews, and to this day, it's better for radio interviews. There was a time, Rush Limbaugh told me, I think he mentioned to the audience, I know he and I had a conversation about it directly, that when cell phones first started, they would not allow cell phone callers to call his program. If you called on a cell phone, Snerdley hung up on you because of the quality of the call compared to a landline. To this day, most people who call on a landline, the quality of the call is better. But the convenience of a cell phone is inarguable, except when you're on vacation and people are texting and calling you who know you're on vacation and begin with, I'm sorry to call you on vacation, but no names will be mentioned. Cell phones can be a burden. But the government did not impose fines or financial burdens on people or mandates to move people off landlines to cell phones, which is what the government is doing with electric vehicles. EVs are far less convenient for most people. Now, listen, one of you smart Alex right now is picking up the phone to call me to tell me how convenient your EV is. I don't care about you and your anecdote. The data is overwhelming for most Americans. EVs are not as convenient. Not only that, they cost too much for most Americans, even with government tax credits and subsidies. And in fact, the number of people who are buying EVs is beginning to slow down because the early adopters have adopted. It's like the people who went out, myself included, and bought the Apple Vision Pro, and now nobody else is buying them. The early adopters have bought in, and there's the end of it. Now, this ties into this subject, the Wall Street Journal. You've heard about the great jobs numbers. You've heard about how the economy is roaring. You've heard about all these things. This is something you need to pay attention to. This is from Rocky Hill, Connecticut. Some of the country's savviest economic trend predictors spend all day answering call center phones. Operators at 211 emergency helplines raised alarm bells about a baby formula shortage ahead of the headlines about empty shelves. And they knew that families were defaulting on their mortgages before the subprime collapse in 2008. Now, even as the economy looks healthy by many measures, 211 workers say they are hearing something concerning. More people living very close to poverty than the federal poverty line might suggest. The disparity aligns with polls showing high levels of consumer malaise despite recent good news like cooling inflation, low unemployment, and strong hiring in March. United Way, the nonprofit that operates about half the country's 200-plus 211 centers, and other poverty researchers blame that disconnect partly on the federal poverty line, which they say hasn't kept up with the real cost of living. The share of households below the census-designated federal poverty line has barely budged since 2010. Meanwhile, poverty researchers say a large and fast-growing group of people are earning too much to qualify for social services and not enough to afford the basics where they live. We wonder why there's so much anger in public discourse today, and it's in part because of the stress people feel to just keep themselves and their families afloat, says Lisa Tepper Bates, president of United Way of Connecticut. People feel that the system is not serving them. United Way calls its population ALICE, or Asset Limited, Income Constrained, Employed. The organization says about 36 million American households, or 29%, meet the criteria in 2021, the most recent year the data is available. That's up 18% from 2010. Preliminary data show the same trend continuing through 2022. In nearby Hartford, Connecticut, where the cost of living outpaces the national average, 38% of households fit the description. Call centers operate locally, and Connecticut's center hears from residents all over the state. This is a problem. It's good of the Wall Street Journal to raise it. It's something we need to pay attention to. There are a lot of Americans who on paper look like they're doing well, and in reality, they're not. They're income constrained. They're asset limited. They are employed full time, but they're barely making ends meet. There are people trying to pick up second jobs. Part of the problem is our glorified unemployment number is dealing with people who are working multiple jobs and they're considered full-time employed, but they're not getting benefits because they're actually working multiple part-time jobs to get their 40-hour weekend. You know, I don't know if my mom and dad are listening. They probably are today since I was gone all last week, but I recall a time when I was in high school, and particularly more mindful of this when I was applying for college. On paper, my dad made a good salary. So much so I didn't qualify for grants or things like that to go to college. They were so interested. I always thought it was foolish. I'm the one who's going to college, not my parents. Why did my parents' income matter so much? But what I just thought was a notable thing was my parents spent a good chunk of my dad's salary having to take care of my grandparents due to different financial issues with my grandparents. They wound up taking over my grandparents' farm. They had to spend money to help my grandparents, in addition to having 3 kids. And they were income restrained at times. My dad worked very, very hard. He made a good living working halfway around the world from us on an oil platform. He'd come home every other 28 days. But they made sacrifices for us and also for my grandparents. And on paper, well off. And I encounter people like this day. I am thinking in particular of a family that I know where the dad makes 6 figures, the mom stays home and takes care of the kids, and they homeschool their kids. They homeschool their kids because they can't afford private school tuition right now, and they're not in a place with great public schools. But in the father's 6-figure salary, in addition to taking care of 4 kids, one of whom has special needs, they're also having to take care of the grandparents on one side of the family that live with them and help take care of the grandparents on the other side of the family because the wife's sibling is a drug addict who stole a lot of money from the family. On paper, dad is making 6 figures, and in reality, they're barely scraping by while also homeschooling their kids and having 2 of the grandparents, his parents, living with them, while also having to deal with the financial fallout of a drug-addicted child taking advantage of the other spouse's parents. Now, that's kind of an extreme scenario there, but there are a lot of people in America today who are living in extreme scenarios where, on paper, they're making a lot of money. In reality, between the cost of raising kids and the cost of getting to work and the cost of gas and the cost of groceries and the cost of utilities and the cost of rent and the cost of mortgages and the cost of insurance, the cost of everything else, the cost of medicines, the cost of hospital visits, the cost of doctor's bills. People are struggling to get by. And they don't need to be lectured by the government about how good they have it. And yet the government and the media together want to lecture people about how awesome our economy is and how great they have it, even if they don't know they have it. And it's more and more belittling. It's more and more disingenuous. It's more and more frustrating to have so many people tell so many Americans how great they have it when the Americans don't have it great. And the early warning system is these 211 nonprofit call centers who are beginning to see it themselves. The number of Americans who on paper have full-time jobs and good salaries, and in the real world, given the cost of living, are barely making ends meet. And if you want to understand why Joe Biden is in the problem he's in, is because instead of acknowledging those people and their problems, he and his administration are lecturing them on how good they have it when they don't think it's good right now because they remember when Trump was president and their life was better. I got to confess something. I really shouldn't. Some of you are going to think a whole lot less of me by saying this to you, and I never wish to devalue myself in your eyes, but y'all can all get a laugh at my expense. I got pretty good eyesight. I had LASIK about a decade ago, and I'm only now starting to realize it's my nearsightedness is slowly coming back, and I'm not doing the trombone thing with my phone and stuff, unlike some people much younger than me who have more gray hair, Philip. But I am definitely, like, my distance vision isn't as good as it should. So, coming back to work for the first time today, pulling into my office building, and who should walk past me but the local Superior Court judge who I practice law with, who he looks straight at me, and I shoot him the middle finger. Hey, we're friends. We're friends. Well, I'm friends with him, but not with the guy that I flipped off. Oh, I had to roll down my window and apologize to the guy who had this look of horror on his face. I was like, I'm laughing. It's like, I'm so sorry. You look just like a friend of mine. And then now I've gotten close and realized I got to have my eyes checked because you're not him. And I shot the guy, gave him the middle finger. Oh, gosh. He took it well. We both had a laugh. I'm 50 shades of red just thinking about it. Now, let me move on and tell you about Americans for Prosperity. Yep, thought he was the local judge, and he wasn't. AFP, great activists. They bought the Bidenomics.com website. But I'm going to tell you about AFP. You can go to Bidenomics.com, but I really want to tell you about Americans for Prosperity because I love the group. They have not compromised on their vision of small government and their support of small government conservatives around the country. They genuinely, truly believe that smaller government is better government, and they're right. And around the country, they have advocated for families. They've advocated for example, school choice. They've advocated for regulatory reform to help small businesses. It's what they do. They want you on their team. You can go to americansforprosperity.org/Eric today and sign up with them. americansforprosperity.org/ERICK. Go learn to be a better, more effective conservative activist with AFP. Hello there. Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here. South Texas is now getting the eclipse. Dark there. I can tell where I am. It's dimmer than it should. It's still plenty of sun outside. It's just like, you can just kind of tell that it's like not as bright as it should be. But that's okay. I've got my filter. I'm going to run downstairs just after the show is over because of we'll get about 80 some odd % where I am today, and I'll be able to go see it downstairs, which will be cool. I do want to pause and talk about this real quick. because I'm actually I'm fascinated by the whole concept. So as I babble on here, I'm wearing my Brave shirt today as I'm leaving this afternoon. So Philip and his brother, and we've got a friend, his name's David, who's also my CFO for my company. And David is an unrepentant, and I mean unrepentant, Mets fan. May God have mercy on his soul. You too, Fisher. And, well, the Mets are playing the Braves at the Braves Stadium today, and last year decided I would take David to the Mets game with Philip and Andy, and instead of sitting on our front porch on a Sunday night. Well, they're doing it again tonight, so we're going to go to the Braves game. And I will go hang out with friends, and I will have fun. I'll have a beer, enjoy the game, but I'm not a huge sports fan. As much as I like watching football with friends. It's a communal activity. Like, I typically don't watch sports by myself. And it's never been something that I grew up in. There was always other stuff I wanted to do. I enjoy going to games, and I enjoy hanging out and watching them with friends, baseball, football. But I have always, since I knew what it was, I have always been fascinated with the Masters. Even before I was like into golf, I was fascinated with the Masters. And this is Masters Week, and it is more the official start of spring than anything. So I was listening to a guy the other day, and he made a great point that the golf season at this point doesn't have an end. There are golf tournaments all year long. In the winter, spring, the summer, or the fall, there are golf events. So the golf season has no end, but it has a definitive beginning. And it is Masters Week in Augusta, Georgia, which back in the turn of the 20th century, Augusta, Georgia was a resort destination for Yankees. They would come down on the train before Florida was developed, and they would stop in Augusta, Georgia. And they would have resort in Augusta, Georgia. And Bobby Jones, the golfer who was the most famous athlete of his day, world-renowned athlete at that point. He still holds the record of winning all the majors in a year. Even Tiger Woods hasn't done that. And they developed this course, the Augusta National Golf Club in Augusta, Georgia, where now the rich and famous, just as it was back then, could come down. And when this tournament started, for the first number of years, the course nearly went under. At one point, it was foreclosed upon. The course they struggled when they started, and today it's an anomaly still in the golf world because it is the only major tournament that is held by a private organization, not an organizing sports body. And what makes it unique, and I got other stuff to talk about, but I just it's that event that I have appreciated, even though I'm not a sports guy, even before I was a golf guy, and I find that other people are somewhat similarly situated, that even people who aren't sports people, particularly people who aren't golf people, will at least pay a little bit of attention to the Masters because of what it is. The best golfers on the planet go to one of the most exclusive venues in sports that very few people get access to. And then it is the most spectator-friendly sporting event on the planet, which is what makes it so unique and makes it so worth paying attention to. The cost of food, the Cliff Roberts, who was the organizer of the Masters, who developed it with Bob Jones, he decided that if people were going to drive hundreds of miles to come watch a golf tournament, that they had to make it as spectator-friendly as possible. And so the result is an extremely well-behaved group of people. There is cheering when cheering is allowed, and there is dead silence when cheering is not allowed. And people can pay $1 or $2. You can take $20 and eat all day at the Masters. The prices are ridiculously cheap. The menu is world renowned for being cheap, and they go out of their way to ensure that the menu is as cheap as possible for anything you could eat. And then they have little touches like my buddy Justin, who's listening right now over there. He is volunteering at the Masters this week. Everybody who walked through the gate today got a pair of eclipse glasses because you're going to be able to see the eclipse from Augusta National. And so everybody who walked in got a pair of glasses. And today, you'll be able to get an egg salad sandwich for $1.50 or a pimento cheese for $1.50. Pork barbecue for $3, a club sandwich for $3, chicken salad for $3. You'll be able to get for breakfast a chicken biscuit for $2 or a breakfast sandwich for $3. The breakfast sandwich is really good. You can get a soft drink for $2. You can get a bottle of water for $2. You can get a bag of chips for $1.50 or a cookie for $1.50. You can't get, you can spend money on a full meal at Augusta National this week for the Masters, and that same money won't buy you a bottle of water at the Brave Stadium. It's remarkable. And Justin has texted me to call them patrons, not spectators. It really is the most incredible. I've been once. I'm going this Friday. I'm taking my son. Listeners who have become friends, Rick and Sally, they invited me last year with Charlie. And we went over, and it was that Saturday that it was pouring down rain and frigid. It was so cold. It was wet. It was raining. And I had a crack in my heel, and both heels, actually. And I had no idea. I was hobbling around just in agony the entire day, had cracks in my heels, wound up having to come home, went to the doctor and was put in air boots for the next couple of weeks. I was absolutely in pain. I wound up having to leave at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I couldn't take it anymore. Poor Tiger Woods, he was out there hobbling around with plantar fasciitis, and here I was with these cracks in my heels. Had no idea that I was damaged goods. But they invited me back this year. I'm taking my agent, who is never been, knows everybody on the planet, it seems like, and no one's ever invited him. So I told him I would take him. And then they had a special junior pass. And so I'm going to take my son with me on Friday. And my son has already told me he expects to be bored out of his mind, but he also knows what a privilege it is to go. He's not going to have any screens to be able to stare at. You're not allowed to bring your electronic devices in. And y'all, I'm flattered by the generosity of Rick and Sally to allow us back a second time. But also, it really is remarkable. And the greens are the greenest green. The sand traps are the whitest white. It's quartz, ground up quartz crystal. It's not actually sand. The bird noises are piped in. It's not just birds. It's piped in sound because it's got to be right on TV. When you order food, the food comes in green wrappers. So if the litter gets dropped and not picked up immediately, and usually it is, it's not seen on television. The bathrooms and the booths are all painted green to match the greenery, so you can't actually see it on television. Everything is very well camouflaged. But I will tell you the thing that got me the most, the thing that kind of blew my mind the most, is I went to the bathroom, and they had an attendant in the bathroom. And before anybody could go into a stall, after a stall had been used, an attendant went in and cleaned the stall. So you didn't have your standard like sporting event bathroom. You could actually go into the bathroom, and the toilet seat had been Lysoled and cleaned and everything. It was remarkable how patron-friendly, customer-friendly it is. Now, if you disobey the rules, not only do you get thrown out, but you get your pass revoked. And my friends Rick and Sally were telling me a couple of years ago, they were there, and there was a drunk guy who got belligerent and started heckling one of the players as he was going to the tee box. And the guy behind him, who was in a green jacket, got his badge from him. And the guy started berating him, and well, they threw him out. and the badge actually belonged to his boss. Guy probably lost his job, had his badge revoked. And when you lose your badge at Augusta National, it's a lifetime ban. And if you come in on a friend's badge and that badge goes away, well, your friend doesn't get their badge back. It's over and done with for your friend. So there's got to be some trust when you lend out a badge to someone else to go. But I'm in awe of this event. I really am. As a guy who, I'll go to a game like I'm going to a Braves game, but I'm not particularly like aggressively in tune with the game. I am absolutely in awe of this. And to see Tiger Woods play, injured as he is still and recovering, and wishing him a shot. You always want Tiger Woods to win because he puts on the best show in golf. I don't know that he will, given his circumstances. But it's an incredible situation. So now here's my problem. I was gone all last week, and I think it would be bad form of me to cut out on you guys on Friday just to go to the Masters. As much as I would love to be in tune with Masters all day, I will make sure to be here for radio on Friday as well. But I will have my fun at the Masters too. I'll make it all work for you guys because I don't want to be gone on a Friday after being gone on a week, and I've got to be gone in a couple of weeks anyway. But in any event, all of that is to say, I didn't mean to go on this soliloquy or monologue about the Masters. I really stand in awe of this event. It's the beauty of it, the kindness of the people, just the most incredibly kind and friendly people you'll ever encounter. And everybody's so well behaved. Like, you can go put your chair down at the Masters and then leave. And when you come back hours later, someone may be sitting in your chair, but if you say, excuse me, they're just going to get up and leave. They're not going to argue with you. People are on their best manner, and it is just something about the atmosphere. It is something about the communal aspect of it. It really is just this remarkable thing to behold. And what you see on television is only half of it, but what you see on TV, it's a remarkably well-told story of a game that is the most difficult game on the planet to play and makes me say words that I would never otherwise say in public. What a frustrating, I am a terrible golfer. I don't even have a handicap. And I've joined this thing, Golfer's Journal, called the Broken Tee Society, and you can get your handicap. I don't want a handicap. I like to go hit golf balls with friends. I don't ever want to play in a tournament. I like to go play by myself. I like to try to see myself. It's a game you can see yourself improving at, even as you know you'll never get good. I don't want a handicap. I have no need for a handicap. I don't plan to go play in tournaments and things like that. But my goodness, it gets me outside in nature, and the event itself is just absolutely breathtaking. I just encourage you. I don't care. You may despise the game of golf, but you should tune in this week and watch some of it, because not only are you watching the Masters at their game play, but you're watching an event that is designed visually for the spectators there and on television. Unlike any other sporting event anywhere played on the planet, that event is designed as much for you as the players. And it's a remarkable thing to watch. It's beautiful. Now, speaking of things designed for you, Old Glory Bank is designed for you. I am a customer of Old Glory Bank. Was before they were an advertiser. I like to tell people that so you don't think I'm just bragging about them because they're an advertiser. No. I actually use Old Glory Bank. I got a savings account with them. I've got a checking account with them because they have no fees. They're online, and they were designed by conservatives for conservatives, as so many banking institutions have been captured by wokes. They are a conservative institution, and they share your values, and they want you to do business with them, and I want you to do business with them, and I think you'll be really impressed with them. Their online bill pay is incredible. Their budgeting tools online are great. They're extremely customer friendly, and they're just good people, and it is a quality bank. I've got a savings account and a checking account with them, and I don't have fees. I'm not getting billed with fees. I put money in, and the bank doesn't take my money. It's just great. You can go to oldglorybank.com. You can fill out the form. You can get an account in less than 8 minutes online at oldglorybank.com. They really are good people. It really is a good bank, and they really do have an awesome debit card. It's a well-designed debit card. I really just the touch, the taste and styling of stuff like that tells you so much about a bank, and they're just good people. Oldglorybank.com is the website. Oldglorybank.com. I've got no special link or anything like that. Just go get an account with them. You'll really be pleased with them. If your kid needs an account, you don't want your kid to get eaten up with fees, oldglorybank.com. A great place to get your kid a bank account as well. Member FDIC, equal housing lender, terms and conditions apply. Have I got a story for you guys? Do you remember, because there was all of the rage when Amazon did this, it was a really, really big deal. Sometime around 2019 or 2020, Amazon.com started grocery stores. This was, I think, before or maybe right after they bought Whole Foods. They started grocery stores in parts of the country where you could just walk in. When you got there, you scanned a code on your phone, a QR code, and then you just took whatever you wanted and walked out of the store. And you never had to pay. There was no cashier. You walked in, you grabbed what you wanted, and you walked out. And a lot of people were like, will there be shoplifting? How are they going to do this? And Amazon was like, it is amazing technology. We have amazing technology. And you're able to walk into one of our Amazon stores, take whatever you want off the shelves, and walk out. And you never have to stop. You never have to scan. You never have to check out. You never have to talk to a cashier. And because of our amazing technology, we will know what you bought and we will charge you. And you'll get an itemized receipt in your email. And it was amazing. And people did it. And it worked. And now Amazon is shutting down all of their grocery stores. Do you know why? Because their amazing technology was a guy in India. It turns out all this time we've been thinking AI stands for artificial intelligence, and it actually stands for an Indian. Yes. Amazon's amazing technology was a store covered in cameras, and they had a pile of workers in India staring at closed-circuit television cameras, determining what you checked out, literally following you through the grocery store and logging what you were checking out, and that's how they did it. Their amazing technology was actually a guy in India. That is the punchline, that at the end of everything, ultimately, what is it? George Carlin pointed out that every amazing invention is actually just a guy. In this case, a guy in India. AI, an Indian. Good gracious.